Hi, my name is Jamie and I'm an activist with the Contract Action Team. Did you know that we've started negotiations with the management of American Airlines for our next contract? Have you ever wondered what the process is and how it works? Well, let's talk about it. The Railway Labor Act is a federal law enacted by Congress in 1926 to regulate labor relations for private sector rail and air carriers and certain enterprises owned or under the control of those carriers. What is Section 6 notice? It is a written notice that must be provided by the union or the employer, governed by the Railway Labor Act, to begin collective bargaining over intended amendments to the collective bargaining agreement. Now, let's talk about the Section 6 process. The negotiations process is outlined in Section 6 of the Railway Labor Act. The JCBA became amendable at the end of 2019. The JCBA will remain in effect throughout negotiations, even if negotiations extend past the amendable date. Where are we today? Exchange of openers and direct negotiations. The formal negotiation process begins with individual meetings between APFA and American Airlines. In these initial meetings, both parties will exchange what are known as Section 6 notices, or openers, which are letters that lay out each side's opening suggestions for changes to the existing agreements. Both parties have reviewed initial openers and direct negotiations have begun between APFA and management representatives. During this period, APFA and American Airlines management will continue to talk directly. That's happening right now. APFA and management can reach a tentative agreement at any point. If this occurs, the tentative agreement would then be sent out to all APFA represented flight attendants for a ratification vote, per the guidelines of Article 11, Section 1 of the APFA Constitution and Bylaws. What happens if there's no progress in negotiations? Under the Railway Labor Act, negotiations with the union will follow a structure as outlined by the National Mediation Board, which is a government agency. If the union and management reach a deadlock in direct negotiations, either party can request mediation by the National Mediation Board. They will appoint a mediator. There is no time limit for mediation under the Railway Labor Act. Mediation continues until either the parties reach an agreement or the National Mediation Board determines that the parties are at an impasse. When the National Mediation Board determines that the parties are at an impasse, they will proffer arbitration. If mediation proves unsuccessful, the National Mediation Board must also ask the parties if they will agree to submit the matter to binding arbitration. Arbitration is voluntary. Traditionally, the union does not agree to binding arbitration because it takes away the members' right to vote on the contract. Please note that the JCBA was not part of Section 6 negotiations. It was part of the merger process. If either party rejects arbitration, the National Mediation Board will issue a release, which starts what is called the 30-day cooling-off period. During the 30-day cooling-off period, the existing contract remains in effect and the union may not strike. During the cooling-off period, the National Mediation Board will often attempt supermediation, in which the members of the National Mediation Board will personally attempt to mediate the dispute. If the parties have not reached an agreement by the end of the 30-day cooling-off period, and the National Mediation Board determines the dispute substantially threatens essential transportation services to any section of the country, it must notify the President of the United States, who may choose to establish a presidential emergency board, which could put a hold on any strike or self-help for up to 60 days. If a presidential emergency board has not been created, the parties are able to engage in self-help. For the union, self-help includes the right to strike or take other economic action against the employer. For management, self-help may include implementing items they proposed in negotiations. As you can see from this explanation, this is a drawn-out process. For that reason, we need a strong contract campaign to pressure the company. We take action when action is needed. Action can be anything from email campaigns, digital campaigns, base, regional, and system-wide events. The involvement of all of us will show management our strength and determination. Your action will be your input on the process.